Hello and welcome back for another chapter or two of Skinnybones. Last time we read chapter 7, where Alex kind of explained to us why he doesn't like baseball, but the only good thing about it is because he likes the caps. Because every time he puts a baseball cap on, he looks just like Steve Garvey, famous baseball player from 30 and 40 years ago. Anyway, we also found out that TJ's team and Alex's team are going to be playing against each other this Saturday. I'm sure Alex is not real thrilled about that. Let's continue with Chapter 8. Usually when I go to the Little League field for a game, I don't know who we're going to play until I get there. I just go to the game, lose, and go home. The way I look at it, losing is losing. Who cares who you lose to? A lot of kids don't feel that way. TJ is one of them. He's one of those kids who always knows exactly which team he is playing and what their record is. Then, a couple of days before they play, he goes around telling the whole world how the other team is going to get creamed. And the trouble is, they know it's true. The day before we played his team, TJ went all over the playground shouting out that Franklin's Sporting Goods is going to mop up the floor with Fran and Ethel's cleaning service. Fran and Ethel's cleaning service. That's the name of my team this year. Neat, huh? When I first found out about it, I thought about quitting. But my father explained to me that Fran and Ethel had paid a lot of money to sponsor our team, and that it wouldn't be fair if everyone quit just because it was a stupid name. So far, I've never had a team name that sounded as neat as Franklin's Sporting Goods. Last year, my team's name was Preston's Pest Control. Our shirts had pictures of little dead bugs on them. It was really embarrassing. Anyway, about 5 minutes after we got to school on Friday, TJ raised his hand. When the teacher called on him, he stood up. "I have an important announcement to make," he said. He looked over at me and smiled. "Tomorrow at 10:30 a.m., my Little League team is going to be playing Fran and Ethel's cleaning service. And since there are 2 players in this room that will be playing in that game, I just thought that everyone might enjoy seeing it." Quickly, I raised my hand. I just couldn't let TJ get away with this. My team had not won a game all season, and TJ's team was in first place. It was going to be humiliating. The teacher called on me. "I wouldn't," I said. "You wouldn't what?" asked the teacher with a puzzled look on her face. "I wouldn't enjoy seeing it," I answered. "Well, then don't come," she said simply. "Thank you, Mrs. Grayson," I said. Then I sat down with a big fat smile on my face. TJ jumped out of his seat. "He has to come, Mrs. Grayson. He's playing in the game. If he doesn't show, I'll be the only one from our class playing." "Okay then," I said, after the teacher called on me again. "I guess it's all settled. Since there's only one kid from our class playing, all the rest of us will stay home and watch cartoons." By this time, Mrs. Grayson was pretty confused, so she dropped the whole thing. But TJ didn't. As a matter of fact, he talked about it all day long. After school, he even stood at the door as the kids were leaving the classroom. As they passed him, he said, "See you at the big game tomorrow. Don't forget, it starts at 10:30. "See you tomorrow, chicken," he laughed as I tried to sneak past him. "Who are you calling a chicken?" I demanded. TJ grabbed me by the shirt and pulled me right up to his face. "You, that's who," he said, holding tight. "I don't mean to be rude, TJ," I said, "but would you mind putting me down? I don't think 2 people are supposed to be this close unless they're dancing." TJ loosened his grip. "Okay, Frankovich, we'll just see how funny you are tomorrow at the game." And then he smiled and walked away. Brother, was I ever in for it now. I didn't know what I was going to do. If there is one thing worse than losing, it's losing in front of your whole class. I've never even played a Little League game in front of a crowd. With a team like mine, you're lucky if even a couple of parents show up. In fact, I hate to admit this, but there are only 2 people that have shown up at every single game we've played this year. Fran and Ethel. They always come to watch us play right after they get off from work. You can tell who they are because they usually stand around wringing out their mops while we warm up. Anyway, Friday night before the big game, I couldn't sleep at all. I just laid in bed trying to think of a way to get out of playing. I guess I must have thought about it most of the night. But finally, about 3 o'clock in the morning, I came up with a wonderful idea. I only hoped it would work. When I went down to breakfast the next morning, I dragged myself into the kitchen on my stomach. "Good morning, Mom and Dad," I said as I pulled myself over to the breakfast table. My parents looked down at me on the floor and smiled. "Good morning, Alex," they said together. "What will you have for breakfast?" asked my mother. "Cornflakes," I answered, looking up at her. My mother got up from the table and poured me a bowl of cereal. She stepped over me to get to the refrigerator. "Juice?" I nodded. What was wrong with these people? Didn't they notice that something was wrong with me? My mother put my breakfast on the floor in front of me. "You better hurry and eat, honey," she said. "You'll have to be dressing for your game soon." I pushed the cereal and juice out of my way. Then slowly I pulled myself over to the table. When I got there, I pulled my body up into my seat. This whole thing took about 10 minutes. "I think I'd rather eat up here," I said. "Could someone please get me my cornflakes and juice?" "We're eating right now, Alex," said my dad. "You should have brought your food with you." Slowly, even slower than before, I leaned down until my hands were on the floor again. The chair flipped over as my body dropped back down. My parents didn't even bother to look up. They were actually ignoring the fact that I could not walk. Finally, I decided to do something really big to get their attention. I pulled myself over to my bowl and started eating my cereal without a spoon. I just put my head in my bowl and started chewing. After a few minutes of this, my mother walked over to me and dropped a napkin on my head. "You'll probably need this to clean up." "What kind of parents are you anyway?" I shouted. "Your poor little son can't walk, and you stand around dropping napkins on their head. Don't you even want to know what happened to me?" "We already know what happened to you," said my mother calmly. "You mean that you know about how Ronnie Williams ran over my poor legs with his motorcycle last night? And you know about how they stiffened up while I was sleeping? And about how they won't work anymore?" "No, Alex," my mom said. "We know that your whole class is going to be at your baseball game today. Dad and I will be there too. Brian's parents called this morning and we're going over to the game with them." "Oh," I said quietly. I finished my cereal on the floor. Then I silently pulled myself back out of the kitchen and down the hallway to my room. Sometimes when you're caught doing something dumb, you feel too embarrassed to stop doing it right away. When I got back to my room, I stood up and took my uniform out of the dresser. I put on the shirt. The neck still hung down to my stomach. This was going to be the worst day of my life. Chapter 9. Finally, I decided to head over to the Little League field. As I got close enough to see the baseball diamond, I noticed something very unusual. All around the field, the bleachers were packed with people. And when I say packed, I mean packed. "Phew," I said, feeling a million times better. "Thank goodness. Looks like the high school must be having their graduation here this morning. Must be some sort of mix-up. Now, I won't have to play ball after all." I jumped high into the air. "Yee-haw!" I screeched. As I turned around to head for home, I noticed that the Channel 6 news truck was parked alongside the curb. Wow, I thought to myself, this must be really something big. It's even going to be on TV. Then I saw a cameraman get out of the truck. Hi, I called to him. Are you going to put that graduation over there on the news tonight? What graduation? Asked the man. That's no graduation. That's a baseball game. A baseball game? I squeaked. Yeah, he continued. There are 2 Little League teams playing over there this morning. We're going to film a few minutes of the game to put on the sports news tonight. Gee, mister, I said, taking a deep breath. This must really be an important game to make the weekend sports. What is it? The championship or something? Nope, said the cameraman. It's nothing like that. As a matter of fact, I think that one of these teams I'm going to be filming hasn't won a game all season. I'm doomed, I hollered. Then I flopped down on the curb and put my head in my hands. Are you all right? He asked. All right, I shouted back. All right? Of course I'm not all right. What kind of man are you anyway, mister? What kind of a person would want to embarrass a poor, rotten Little League team by showing it on the 6 o'clock news? What is wrong with you? Do you get your kicks making fun of little kids, or what? Wait a minute there, son, he said. Calm down. I didn't come to make fun of anyone. It's the other team we are interested in, the one with TJ Stoner on it. He's the kid we're doing the story on. TJ? I asked. Yep, he explained. Yesterday, we learned that TJ Stoner has won every single Little League game he's ever played in. That's a record. In fact, if his team wins today, it will be his 125th straight win. I just turned and headed toward the field. As I walked away, the cameraman called after me. Hey, kid, you going to be playing in that game? Yeah, I yelled. I'll be the kid fainting in center field. What else could go wrong? I looked up into the sky. Maybe now was the time to have a little chat with God. After all, that's what he's there for, isn't it? Listen, God, I shouted, if I did something to make you mad, I'm really sorry. And I'll try never to do it again. Whatever it is. But right now, I need your help. I'm a good kid. Well, pretty good. And I really don't think I deserve this. So I'd like to talk to you about making a little deal. If you get all those people sitting in the bleachers to go home right now, I'll become a preacher when I grow up. Would you like that? I looked around to see if anybody was getting up to leave. No luck. In fact, even more people were coming. Okay, God, I said, if you didn't like that deal, how about this one? All you have to do is get rid of that cameraman. If he goes home, I promise to go to church every single Sunday for the rest of my life. I looked behind me. The cameraman was carrying all his equipment down to the field. He didn't turn around. All right, God, I said one last time, this is my final offer, and it's a good one. All you have to do is whip up one tiny little thunderstorm to get the game canceled, and in return, I will go home this very minute and read the Bible from cover to cover. How's that? I looked into the sky. It was the sunniest, clearest day I had seen in months. Thanks, God, I said. Thanks a whole lot. I know I'm not important like Moses or anything, but I really didn't think it would hurt you to do one tiny little miracle. When I finally got to the field, my team was already there warming up. Every time I looked into the bleachers, my knees turned to jelly. I wasn't sure how long they were going to be able to hold me up. My coach spotted me. Frankovich, my coach shouted when he spotted me. Where have you been? Get out there in the field and warm up. I trotted out to center field. Okay, Alex, he hollered. I'm going to hit you a couple out there. Get ready. The first ball that hit me was a high pop fly. I was very nervous. It seemed like all the people in the bleachers were staring straight at me. The ball came fast. I didn't even have time to think about it. I just watched it closely. put out my glove, and made a perfect catch. I thought. Maybe this isn't going to be so tough after all. A crowd might be just the thing I need to bring out the best in me. "Okay, Alex," shouted my coach again. "Here comes another one." This time it was a hard grounder. As soon as I saw it coming, I ran up to it, bent down, and scooped it up in my glove. "All right out there, Frankovich," yelled the coach. "Way to play!" Boy, was he ever proud of me. The day was turning out a whole lot better than I thought. The end of chapter 9. The next chapter is the game. Alex has some momentum. Let's see if that continues with the actual game. See you next time.